You are a German soldier trying to sleep in a trench somewhere in Poland. You have survived artillery, machine guns, tank attacks. You know the sound of war by heart. But tonight, what wakes you up is not an explosion. It's a whisper. A thin, eerie rustling in the sky above you. No engine, no roar. Just a strange, ghostly swish. And then, small bombs begin to fall. Explosions rip through ammunition dumps, fuel barrels, field kitchens, command posts. In the flickering firelight, someone curses under their breath. Nachthexen. The night witches. Those witches are not monsters, not ghosts, not demons. They are 20-year-old girls in open cockpits, flying wooden biplanes with no armor, no radios, and almost no instruments. And tonight, they are here for you. By the end of the war, the Night Witches, the Soviet 588 Night Bomber Regiment, will fly more than 23,000 combat sorties. They will drop over 3,000 tons of bombs on German positions. They will become one of the most decorated aviation units in the Red Air Force and one of the most feared. The Germans will give them a name meant as an insult, Nachthexen, night witches. The women will wear it as a badge of honor. But to understand who they really were, and why they kept taking off night after night in flimsy wooden planes, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to a time when they were not witches, just girls who refused to stay out of the war. Autumn 1941. Moscow is under threat. German troops are closing in. While the Soviet state evacuates factories and archives, one woman goes in the opposite direction, straight into the center of power. Her name is Marina Raskova. To the Soviet public, she is a hero, a record-breaking aviator, the Soviet Amelia Earhart. To Stalin, she is useful. Raskova comes with a proposal almost no other country in the world would even consider in 1941. Let women not just work in factories, not just serve as nurses. Let them fly combat missions. She asks for all female aviation units, women pilots, women navigators, women ground crew, not as temporary substitutes, as real combat regiments. It is a request that would have been laughed out of the room anywhere else. Stalin says yes. On October 8, 1941, orders are signed. 3 women's regiments will be formed. One of them will become the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. Most of its future witches are not hardened veterans. They are students, flying club instructors, teenage girls with a few dozen hours in gliders or light civilian planes. They are 18, 19, 20 years old. They are about to be thrown into the darkest part of a total war. Winter 1941-42. Engels Air Base, far from the front. The women arrive expecting sleek fighters, shiny bombers, powerful machines. What they get is something very different. Their aircraft is the Po-2, a slow, 2-seat biplane made of wood and canvas, designed in the late 1920s as a trainer and crop duster. Open cockpit, no armor, no radio. Top speed barely over 120 kilometers per hour. Many male pilots call it a sewing machine or a flying coffin. By daylight, facing fighters and flak, it would be suicide. But at night, it will become a weapon no one expects. Command of the regiment goes to Major Yevdokia Bershanskaya. She is strict, demanding, and very clear with her new pilots. You wanted the front? This is the front. There will be no discounts because you are women. Training is brutal and fast. The women learn not just to fly, but to navigate in darkness, to read the shape of rivers and forests by moonlight, to throw their planes around flak bursts with freezing hands on the controls. In May 1942, the 588 is declared ready for combat. Their destination, the Southern Front. June 1942. Night over the Mius River and the Seversky Donets. The regiment's baptism of fire comes on June 12, 1942. Targets: German crossings, supply routes, and troop concentrations near the front. The plan is simple, on paper. Small groups of Po-2s will fly low, at night, and drop light bombs on key points: bridges, roads, supply dumps. In reality, everything is harder. The pilots are fighting darkness, weather, fear, and their own inexperience. They take off, one pair after another, into blackness that seems to swallow the world. They fly toward weak glows on the horizon and blurry contours on maps memorized by heart. The first raid is a success. Explosions mark the targets. Fires burn along German supply lines, but one plane does not return. For the regiment, the war has just stopped being heroic posters and speeches. It has become a ledger of names, and the blank space where some names used to be. To understand why the Germans will come to hate them, you need to understand how the Night Witches attacked. A normal bomber run is loud and obvious. Engines roaring, heavy bomb loads, big aircraft. You can hear it coming. You can prepare. The Night Witches turned that idea upside down. Their typical attack looked like this. They flew in at low altitude, often alone or in small groups, using rivers, roads, and tree lines as guides. As they neared the target, the pilot would throttle back, or even cut the engine completely. The Po-2, suddenly silent, would begin to glide. No engine noise, no roar. Just the rush of air over wings made of wood and fabric, a thin, eerie rustle in the night. Then, from that whispering darkness, small bombs would fall. High explosive, fragmentation, incendiaries. These were not massive city-flattening loads, but they destroyed ammo dumps, fuel stores, command posts, artillery positions, and even when they did not destroy, they did something else. They never let the enemy rest. German soldiers started calling them Night Witches because of that chilling sound, the gliding, whispering approach followed by sudden explosions. Some swore they could hear broomsticks. Others joked bitterly that even the sky was against them. The name stuck, and the women embraced it. Summer-winter 1942. The Battle for the Caucasus. As German forces push toward the oil fields and passes of the Caucasus, the 588 is thrown into some of the most brutal fighting of the war. Their job is simple: make it hell for the enemy to move, rest, or resupply at night. Night after night, they attack. Rail junctions near Mozdok, troop camps around Prokladny, supply depots and fuel dumps feeding the German advance. They fly multiple sorties per night. 6, 8, sometimes 10 flights in darkness, in the cold, under fire. By day, they sleep in dugouts or on straw. By night, they climb back into open cockpits, wrapping themselves in layers of uniforms, scarves, anything to keep warm as the wind tears at their faces and hands at altitude. The Po-2 is underpowered and slow. But it has one unexpected advantage. Many German night fighters struggle to intercept something so slow and low. Their engines stall if they try to match its speed. The Night Witches turn this weakness into a strength. They zigzag across the front, like ghosts that radar can barely see and fighters can barely catch. Their persistence is noticed. In February 1943, for their combat performance and discipline, the regiment is transformed into the 46th Guards Night Bomber Aviation Regiment. For a women's unit, the Guards title is almost unheard of. It is the Soviet state's way of saying, "You are among the best we have." 1943. The Taman Peninsula. The German hold on the Kuban bridgehead is stubborn. They cling to their positions, using them as a last foothold in the region. The Night Witches are sent to help break that grip. Their missions now focus on destroying ferries and crossings the enemy uses to move men and supplies, bombing artillery positions covering the beaches, harassing any attempt to build new defensive lines. Enemy anti-aircraft fire is heavy. Searchlights claw at the sky, trying to catch the slow-moving silhouettes of Po-2s. Sometimes they do. When that happens, a Po-2 becomes a clay pigeon. Tracer rounds cut the dark. If the pilot is lucky, she can dive for the ground, hide behind terrain, slip out of the cone of light. If not, many planes come back full of holes. Some do not come back at all. But the bridgehead slowly collapses. For their role in this grinding campaign, the regiment receives an honorific title, Taman. Now their full name is a mouthful, 46th Guards Taman Night Bomber Aviation Regiment. Behind those words are burned hands, frost-bitten faces, and nights when they flew so often that they no longer remembered where one mission ended and the next began. August 1944. Poland. The front line has moved west. Now the Night Witches are flying over Polish towns, Augustów, Warsaw, Ostrołęka, and others. Their work splits into two dangerous roles. First, the usual one. Night bombings of German supply hubs, troop concentrations, and transport routes. Disrupting reinforcement lines to the front, keeping pressure on an already overstretched enemy. Second, a quieter, but no less dangerous task. Night supply runs to Soviet and partisan forces, flying low and alone, dropping small loads of food, ammunition, and medical supplies into makeshift drop zones. No glory, no big explosions, just the knowledge that somewhere in the dark, a hungry, exhausted unit will survive another day because a Po-2 found them in the night. January-May 1945. East Prussia, Gdynia, Gdansk, the Vistula-Oder offensive. By 1945, the war is clearly turning against Germany. But that does not make the Night Witches' job safer. They fly over East Prussia, hitting ports like Gdynia and Gdansk, harassing retreat routes, and targeting coastal defenses. They support the Vistula-Oder offensive, the Soviet push that will eventually bring the Red Army to the gates of Berlin. The regime that tried to murder their country is dying. But until the last day, someone still has to take off in the dark, with bombs under the wings and a pencil-thin margin of error between mission accomplished and did not return. Their final combat sorties come in April and early May 1945. While the Reichstag falls and Berlin burns, somewhere in the night, a Po-2 still glides in with its engine cut, dropping the last bombs of a long, relentless campaign. By the time the guns fall silent, the tally of the Night Witches looks like this: around 23,000 to 24,000 combat sorties, almost 29,000 flight hours, over 3,000 tons of bombs dropped, tens of thousands of incendiaries scattered across enemy depots, fuel stores, and camps. They become one of the most decorated units in Soviet aviation. 23 women receive the title Hero of the Soviet Union. 32 members of the regiment are killed in action or die in crashes. Many die not in glorious dogfights, but on the way back. Exhausted pilots misjudging a landing in the dark. Aircraft failing after too many hard missions and too little maintenance. A sudden burst of flak where there was none before. The war will remember the legends, the witches who haunted German trenches. But behind the legend are very real people. Young women shivering in open cockpits at -20, holding the stick with numb fingers. Navigators counting seconds in the dark instead of instruments. Crews who do 8, 9, 10 takeoffs and landings in a single night. then sleep for a few hours, and do it all over again. The enemy named them night witches. In reality, they were something far more terrifying to any totalitarian regime. Ordinary people who refused to accept the role they were given, and chose instead to step into the sky and change the shape of the war. In the end, the story of the Night Witches is not just about bombs and sorties. It is about what happens when a war that worships steel and machinery is disrupted by something it never took seriously. Young women in wooden planes. Their Po-2s never matched the speed of German fighters. Their bomb loads were small. Their aircraft were obsolete the day they took off. And yet, night after night, these obsolete machines kept German soldiers awake, destroyed their supplies, disrupted their troop movements, and helped grind down an army that had once seemed unstoppable. They proved that sometimes the most effective weapon is not the most advanced one, but the one flown by people who simply refuse to break. If you want more stories like this, about forgotten units, impossible missions, and the people the history books almost left out, stick around, subscribe, and let's keep opening the files the war tried to close.